What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Bray Wyatt is back and it looks like Smackdown is his new home. What surprises and shocks should fans expect from him, and what will happen when Logan Paul shows up ahead of his crown jewel match against undisputed champion Roman Reigns? Join us now as we look at the 21st October edition of the Blue Brand, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including CM Punk headed back to WWE, Karrion and Kross joining Bray Wyatt, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Now, as always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, another instant classic. Two of the WWE's wildest factions battling out? Yes, please. The Brawling Brutes vs Imperium was an instant classic, and the Brutes vs the Bloodline looks to be as good, if not better. Sheamus vs Solo Sikoa was more than just a wild brawl to start the show, it was a reminder of how much the Celtic Warrior still left to offer the WWE Universe. Solo is one of the WWE's fastest rising stars, and it's easy to see why. He has a strong presence in the ring and fits the role of Roman Reigns' enforcer to a T. Although some pundits think Sheamus is being written off TV due to his kayfabe injury, it's equally likely the WWE will have him go into his crown jewel match with an injury to give the Brawling Brutes more sympathy against the Bloodline in their 6-man match. Number 2, good setup for Omos vs Strowman. While an Omos vs Braun Strowman match doesn't need much build up, it was good for the WWE to set things up the way it did last night. There was plenty of trash talk as Strowman called Omos out and invited him to look into the eyes of a real monster. MVP was at the top of his game as always, telling Braun he is always the biggest man in the room until now, and that if Braun wanted to maintain the illusion of being a monster, he'd best walk away now. Naturally, Braun did back off, but the Nigerian giant threw him out of the ring with ease. Not before he did his pose though. This is actually the first time fans have ever seen Strowman manhandled like this. This should be one of your classic slobber knockers, and let's hope the WWE doesn't do anything foolish such as having a conclusive finish at Crown Jewel. Number 3, a serviceable tag match. Last night's women's tag match between Damage Control and a new team of Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi did what it was supposed to. Give the women's tag division some TV time and show how Bayley's presence gives their tag team champions an undeniable advantage. While we feel Damage Control is being overexposed on TV, you can't fault their in-ring work or ability to get heat. Number 4, a serviceable series. Speaking of serviceable matches, Rey Mysterio's match against Imperium's Ludwig Kaiser was a smart way to stretch out Ray Ray's series against Intercontinental Champion Gunther and give the fans an entertaining matchup. They teased just how much of a problem Ray is going to have against the General when they threw a chair at him, and Gunther swatted it back at Ray like a ping pong ball. It's very unlikely that Mysterio is going to beat Gunther for the title, but the WWE is making this one of those title programs where it's all about the journey rather than the destination. Number 5, Bray won't be sorry. Bray Wyatt cut a great promo last night, and while that was a given, the WWE also showed it was smart in how it executed things. First though, let's look at Wyatt's trip on the wild side. Bray gave the fans the heart-to-heart they were robbed of last week. Bray admitted his anger issues and that for a while he was happy being left alone. However, as you might expect from Wyatt, things quickly took a twisted turn as he told the fans he was okay with things being over, and in fact he was glad the fans had left him alone. However, the fans didn't, and this convinced Wyatt to return, something he was thankful for. Wyatt then warned the WWE Universe, "I know who you are, I know what you want, I know what you're trying to do, but it won't work. I confess that along this journey I'm going to do horrible things, but I will never feel sorry for them. I'm just a servant now. I go where the circle takes me." The promo was a great reminder of Wyatt's gift to the gab and a terrifying tease of what's to come. The timing was good too. They finally stopped the nonsense and gave the fans a full dose of Bray Wyatt after last week's bait and switch tease, showing the promotion knows the importance of not stringing the fans along with promises of Wyatt. It also showed some programming savvy by putting Wyatt's promo in the middle of the show, showing that fans need to stay tuned in because they never know when he'll pop in, and an effective explanation. Fans curious as to why Legado del Fantasma acquired Zelina Vega because she's the best, with Vega noting the group is fueled by their shared heritage. This was an example of how you answer the fans' obvious questions, i.e. what happened to Elektra, and move on with the show. But that was the good. What about the bad is number 1, Ronda's lousy promo and heel turn. Now, as effective as Legado del Fantasma's promo was, Ronda Rousey's promo showed how not to do things. This technique of using a promo to turn heel or face can be highly effective, but when your promo skills are as weak as Ronda Rousey's, things are already off to a bad start. Compounding the problem is also the fact that Rousey has been acting heel ever since she lost a rematch to Liv Morgan, and yet the fans don't seem to care. The WWE needs to do more than have Rousey dismiss her need for the fans' cheers if they want to get the WWE Universe riled up against her. Number 2, Liv's hardcore gimmick. Speaking of failures, Liv Morgan's current gimmick that she loves to go hardcore, hopefully that phrase won't get us in trouble with YouTube, is an example of what not to do when a wrestler can't get over. Having Morgan take sick bumps on a weekly basis, which seems to be the direction the WWE is taking her in, is both awful and reckless. It doesn't matter if Morgan feels she needs to do something to connect to the fans, putting her health on the line is not the way to do so. Yes, it can get her over, and that had shown with Mick Foley, but it sets a bad precedent and encourages wrestlers to take sick bumps for a cheap pop. While this may sound like a slam at AEW, the WWE doesn't need to have a concussion crisis on its hands like AEW, and Morgan's new gimmick is a case of taking the fast lane to a head trauma unit, or even worse. Number 3, ending a feud. Question: if the WWE wants to end the Drew McIntyre vs Karrion Kross feud, and as far as we're concerned, we don't want it to end for quite some time, why book it in a cage match? Why not book it in a Hell in a Cell match? Granted, the WWE is likely going to have Kross and Scarlett pull a rabbit out of their hat and escape the Scottish Warrior's revenge. However, the WWE should at least create the illusion that Drew is going to get his hands on Kross and Karrion has nowhere to run. Any fan who's watched wrestling for more than a month knows that cage matches are no way to end a feud. Number 4, a boring build-up. It's difficult to tell what the WWE is doing with Logan Paul vs Roman Reigns. On one hand, the match is all about the spectacle of a mainstream celebrity battling the WWE's number 1 guy, but the build-up has been very weak, and last night was no exception. They know he already has the money from Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel, but wouldn't the WWE likely get some crossover publicity by creating compelling TV for the match? Having Jey Uso jump Logan only to get clobbered was white bread booking and a disappointing way to further the match and end Smackdown. There was nothing downright ugly, as last night's Smackdown had the right mix of matches and interviews. The WWE launched an exciting looking Brawling Brutes vs Bloodline feud and forwarded the build up to Rey Mysterio vs Gunther. There were some bad moments, but this was still a solid edition of Smackdown without the need for hot-shotting. But what you guys think of the Blue Brand last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our top story looks at whether CM Punk is actually returning to WWE. On top of the news today is the incredible prospect of CM Punk returning to WWE. As insane as it might seem, there are some pundits who believe Punk could leave AEW and make a beeline to the wrestling promotion he walked out on WWE way back in 2014. You may recall Dave Meltzer's recent report that AEW is trying to buy up Punk's contract, but that rumor has it that two sides are at odds over a non-compete clause. While the thought of Punk leaving AEW and heading back to the WWE, the place he's talked trash about over the last 8 years, things have changed and there are reports that WWE might be interested in bringing him back, if for no other reason than to spite AEW and score another signing coup up as it did earlier this year when Cody Rhodes returned at WrestleMania. According to a report from Fightful Select, Triple H wants to be a success and make compelling program more than anything. CM Punk back in WWE is compelling programming, but I can't see it being a full-time deal like when he has in AEW because of exactly what happened in AEW. That's even if he has an interest. If he gets a buyout, he may not need to work again. Even before Punk returned to AEW, there was the idea that he didn't need to return to wrestling for financial reasons as he'd been prudent with his money. However, as we suggested in our previous news video, fans shouldn't rule out the possibility of Punk teasing a WWE return just to squeeze more money from AEW in an agreement for a longer non-compete clause. Next up, Karrion Kross aligning with Bray Wyatt. Is Karrion Kross going to ally with Bray Wyatt? I don't rule it out, as the big man himself recently told Give Me Sports or Louis Dango if the fans really want that, it would be something that I would completely consider. We'll have to see how things play out. While the idea of a Wyatt Kross team has promise, it's hard to envision Kross serving as a lackey. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. And finally, Sarah Lee's husband's touching message. And last but not least, as the wrestling world mourns the passing of 30-year-old Sara Lee, her husband is sharing a touching tribute to his wife. Weston Blake, aka Corey Weston, posted the following on his Instagram. As previously reported, fans and wrestlers alike have generously contributed to our fun setup to take care of the family. But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.